5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 23 of the Mosby Learning Podcast, and really, I think like any good learning professional, things change over time, and for all sorts of fun reasons. And we're going to change the format of our session tonight, because we're going to add a very kind of spicy individual into the mix here, and just see how it goes. My name is Dan Hirt. I'm calling in from Mississauga, Ontario.
And my name is Adam Costakes, and I'm calling in from Dallas, Fort Worth.
My name is Alex Salas, and I'm calling in from sunny Orlando, Florida.
Sunny Orlando. I bet the sun is still up down there. Is it up? It's probably not.
No, not yet.
The land of Disney.
Alex, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on the Disney foot.
I love Disney,
Can we
man.
get
I'm
into
going to
that
come
later
down and
in the
visit,
episode?
Alex. I'm on my way.
I
will be down there.
There's only one pimp. There's only one pimp in this city. That's the mouse.
Is his name Walt or Mickey?
Well, yeah, we're getting too deep now.
There you go.
I want to be alive in a couple of months.
Yeah, you don't want to step on the wrong big cartoon toes down there. All right,
Yeah.
Hey Alex, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is going to be a fun little chat. There's those personalities that we see online a lot, but we often know that there's people behind those personalities, and it's nice to kind of get a chance to chat in person. Now, well, I guess let's kind of start with where you came from as a person. So you obviously weren't a fully formed human being to start with. You were a kid at some point, and kind of one of the things that I was wondering was, well, hang on, before I wonder further, we should probably set the stage. And kind of one of the things that I was wondering was, well, hang on, before I wonder further, we should probably set the stage as to who you are, just in case there is somebody that isn't quite familiar. Now, Alex, you are. We're going to kind of get into your next step ventures, but you've been in L&D for years. You have been in, you've served in the military, and you have taken no shortage of lessons from that as well, I'm sure. You're also the host of the popular L&D YouTube show Off the Cuff, the ATD for that's Central Florida. Is that right? The Central Florida ATD chapter that puts that on, or hosts that?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm the host. I'm the producer. I'm the guy.
You're the guy. You're the hired gun. So how long have you been doing that off the cuff piece?
So Off the Cuff started the beginning of 2019. So actually, yeah, it's been now a little over a year.
That's awesome.
It's a weekly format. And we're up to episode 54 or something.
54.
Nice.
I think I saw 53 the other day, so 54 might be in the can, as they say. Okay, yeah. So I wanted to ask you this question because I was thinking about this the other day. About I have a mug. It's a Waldo mug that I use, and I love this Waldo mug. And I realized, and after I kind of interact with a few different things, that there's certain pieces of my childhood that it's like, okay, I realized that was something that informed who I was, 30-something years later. Is there anything you could think of that kind of started you down the path that at the time you probably didn't know it, but looking back you think, yeah, that's part of my DNA. That's me.
Yes, I got to tell you that I think that my love of technology was very early. I remember. And it manifests itself in so many ways. But now that I look at it, and that's a great question you're asking. And
so, what were some of the things that, as a kid, that you had that tech wise? Because tech's changed a lot in the past 20 years, and I don't want to overstep my bounds. But you're older than that. So, what were some of the things that you were kind of tinkering with as a kid?
Well, technology has always been around, right? So, the main thing I like for people to understand is that technology is not just computer devices. It's just technology is technology. If you like to use paper, that's technology. If you like to use a piece of rock, that's technology. So in my perspective, I used to walk around and watch this new watches that will come out, the Casio watches. Remember those back in the day? They're still around, right? But my thing was I used to look at the models and see what they did, and one had the alarm and the other one didn't, and one you can put the models and see what they did, and one had the alarm and the other one didn't, and one you can put your phone numbers in and stuff like that. And so that was kind of like a hobby that I used to just go because I couldn't afford them at the time. And then when I got one for my birthday, that was a great thing. But yeah, it's just simple things like that. And if I, back in the day, I was lucky enough to, I'm lucky enough to consider myself a Gen Xer. And so the millennials are not calling me a boomer, and I'm able to enjoy, I was able to enjoy the evolution of video games. So, I started playing with Atari and Intellivision, ColecoVision, and all of that. Yeah. And so all of that, I had to get used to the different setups of the technology, right? That involve how do you connect it to a TV? All that stuff was pretty much on my own. So that's kind of what I look back and
thing, Alex, you're talking about. I think we're close to the same age there. Kind of growing up through that video game era. I was just cleaning out my garage the other day. My wife brought in these big jugs, these big things of like. Cords and cables and all these things, and she's like, do we even need these anymore? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you got to have those. And she's like, why? I'm like, I actually don't have a reason, but I remember back in the day,
don't worry about it.
You put that Atari 2600 in, you got the RF cable, you got to figure that all out, you got to get it all together. You kind of tinkered. Today you don't do it anymore. We grew up analog and now it's all digital.
Well, I think that's kind of I think that's an interesting point, though, because the tech that kind of, when we started with those initial things like the ColecoVision, Atari, the original Nintendo, there was still almost a physical element to those things, and they weren't overly technical processed, and now it's just like a car today. If you look at a car today under the hood, you can't do a lot of stuff in there, but a 40-year-old car under the hood, it's a lot more accessible. So I think that might have that does kind of lend itself a little bit more to walk down that tinkering path.
Yeah, well, I wasn't tinkering much. I can tell you that there was perhaps a good intro to troubleshooting because, kids today don't know this. And I mean, I have 3 kids, and all my 3 kids have the latest consoles for the last, 6-7 years. But in my day, the Intellivision used to overheat, and that's it. And it overheated and it shut down, and you couldn't play anymore. So it was almost like good parental guidance built into
Timed out, yeah.
But it was just a matter of the technology not being able to withstand, the long time of play. So. Yeah, that's and so funny. I have an Intellivision that has all the games built into it. There's like 100 games or so, and you can play, forever because it's new circuitry and all that. Yeah. But I did that once, and I played it, and then I was like, it's like going back to a really old girlfriend.
Go on.
No, you don't. You just okay. This is great. I'm out.
Yeah, it's funny, the old Nintendo.
I play with the 16 bits, and I was like, what? Oh,
that's funny.
Wow. Oh, I used to like this. Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah, that is funny. Kids these days, they got the new it's a new Nintendo Entertainment System. They're never gonna know that you used to have to blow in those cartridges. Like that was the trick. You have to blow in it, stick it in, kind of force it down. The new ones, you don't have to do that anymore.
Exactly.
All right, you can't be a kid forever, and you did.
Stick it in, kind of force it down. The new ones, you don't have to do that anymore.
Exactly.
All right, you can't be a kid forever, and you did. You paid your dues, Alex. You enlisted, and like I say, you did pay your dues. And I heard you and Kevin Thorne talking about the transition from military life to back to civilian life, and somehow you made that transition and you found your way to L&D at some point, but there was a couple stops in between. How far was it until you kind of found that L&D spark, or did that happen in the Navy?
Well, so this story, it happened in the Navy. You can say that it's like most people say, by accident or whatnot, but it wasn't like I was assigned a training position. What happened was at the total the best instructional systems in the world as a customer. So, but part of the promotion that you have, the way to promote in the services usually is pretty much kind of like the same, but every service has their own flavor. In the Navy, you take an exam. You have to take an exam that proves your knowledge beyond your rank. So if you want to make the next rank, you have to take an exam that tests you at that knowledge level. And then you also have your performance review. That's the normal stuff, right? Like, you do your job well, you don't piss off your bosses, all that kind of stuff. But the exam part, I was pretty good at. I was always very good at taking exams, I guess, because I have a huge frontal cortex. I can communicate with dolphins.
Not to brag.
Yeah, exactly. So, that about 4 years or so, I made sergeant rank, sergeant level rank, E5. It's not called sergeant in the Navy, but I just want to give people an idea.
Gotcha.
So that was a leadership position, and I found myself, I took it upon myself to then kind of start helping the troops that were assigned to me. So I set up the study sessions, and through the study sessions, you get the famous aha moments, right? So when you get the aha moments, then that kind of gives you that shot of dopamine, and you become then kind of addicted to, you become a learning junkie. So you want to help people learn stuff. So, that's basically what happened there. And so at that point, I was like, okay, being that I was in the medical profession in the Navy, I was what is called a hospital corpsman. In the Navy, in the Army, they call them medics, but don't call us that because that's not something we like. Okay, being that I was in the medical profession in the Navy, I was what is called a hospital corpsman. In the Navy, in the Army, they call them medics, but don't call us that because that's not something we like. We're not medics. So trust me, every service has a different thing. But hospital corpsman has a long tradition, and so therefore we'd like to maintain the name. So as I did that, then I watched a retired Navy chief he was a health educator, and he was giving classes on smoke cessation and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay. Wow, this is a cool job. So I'm thinking, if I was going to retire or if I was going to get out of the Navy, this is what I want to do. I want to just be able to go places and teach people stuff, right? So then I found out that I saw after a bachelor's in health education. And when I was doing the bachelor's, there was a class on adult learning theory. When I found out adult learning theory, I kind of didn't look back anymore. I was like, wow, this is so freaking cool. I want to be a professor, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a professor, stuff like that. And so I pursued a master's degree, and that was in education. It was focused on training and development. Because in the pursuit of everything else, I found that there was a profession called training and development. The advantage, I guess, is when you're in the military, the beauty of it is that everything is documented, that you have processes for everything. And, even if the people around you don't know what they're doing, there are instructions and processes somewhere. So being that you had that, that you always got that relationship in the Navy that is not something you ever found in civilian life. Like, can you teach me this? Hey, can you show me what this is? That type of stuff. In the military, especially in the Navy and attached to Marine Corps unit, that didn't work that way. If you didn't know something and you don't go to your supervisor, be like, hey, can you help me with this? Can you tell me what, the supervisor be like chewing your butt off and going, hey, go find out. And then when you find out, come let us know what it is. So you became adept to do research, to find things out, to seek out knowledge. So I did that. And then I found that there was something called ATD, or at the time is the American
ASTD.
The American Sexual Transmitted Diseases.
That's the one.
No, I mean,
some solid branding
Signed
there.
right up.
Yeah. The ASTD. Yeah.
Oh, you're already in the Navy.
Yeah, exactly. And so now, we found that out. I went through, the ASTD. Yeah.
Oh, you're already in the Navy.
Yeah, exactly. And so now, we found that out. I went through, I found that there was such an organization. I looked at the history of it, and then I started joining local chapters as an attendee, as a participant. And so that was a reference. And then I got the master's. The master's really kind of amplified my view and everything. But I also realized that, having a master's, it amplifies your view, but also it can make you very frustrated, because then when you go work in business, there's 20% of whatever you're learning in the master's is being used in business.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel a little frustrated because you're like, are you serious? Like, I just spent 2 years studying this crap. Nobody knows anything or cares.
Yeah.
So
that's, and then you go to academia. You get your master's, and again, there's a lot of theory, a lot of structure, a lot of documentation, and then you find your way to the private sector, where, as you already mentioned, I mean, that you don't have a lot of that as much in the private sector. There's less documentation because there's always a churn of employees. There's always a churn of processes, it seems like. And so let me ask you, like, what would you say kind of your thoughts are on the state of instructional design today? What does that look like today, as a discipline, as a pursuit?
Well, two different questions there. I sense in a way, right? The way that you're asking them, and I'm going to answer those. I would say, I think it depends on what lens you're looking at it. In terms of a profession, I'm very about it. I really care about its origins, and I really care about what it was meant to do and what it's capable of doing. Mm-hmm. However, that's not exactly what is being practiced on a general basis in business. So it's hard to have a lot of respect in some areas for a profession where people accidentally become a title, and they become that title, and then they don't have any background on it. And that's great for the person getting the job. Mm-hmm. No hard feelings there. But there has been a lot of delusion over the years. That's the issue, right? So and it's something that doesn't happen in a lot of other professions, which is interesting, right? So it's not like a mechanic that, a mechanic was just a guy in the corner playing with wrenches, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, you know what? You're the lead mechanic now." So go fix the most expensive cars we have. There's been a lot of discussions about this, like, there's no standards, there's no, certification to kind of say everybody's working on the same page. So that's why you see me doing research and kind of pointing out, and there's some other good folks out there that are putting some research to kind of give some of the origins and basis of how things work. But I also understand that, what was originally instructional design does not work in business fully.
Right.
So I would say that.
So if we could just touch on the certification thing for a moment, because recently, the previous ASTD and now the current ATD, they've recently done away with their CPLP, CLPPL, PPL?
CLP.
That's the
Certified Professional Learning and Performance.
Yeah. And that's a designation that you have. So what are your kind of thoughts on them sunsetting that designation?
Certified Professional Learning and Performance.
Yeah.
And that's a designation that you have. So what are your kind of thoughts on them sunsetting that designation? Obviously you still earn it, you still have it, but what are your thoughts on that going away?
Well, so to clarify, it's not that it's going away, it's just changing. It's becoming the CPTD. It's changing in the way that people are getting certified, and it's changing in the way that it's changing on the label. That's it. Really, it's not like it's going away.
So do you have to do? So Alex, do you have to do special courses to kind of get up to the new certification, or are you just automatically grandfathered in?
No, you're getting for part of the information they have released, you're getting grandfather in. There's no need to retest or anything like that.
Oh, so it's just changing the name.
Yeah, now the requirements still persist. The requirements to recertify it. I can't recall correctly, but I mean, in the old model is 3 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, we won't hold you to it here. But ladies and gentlemen, do your own damn research. That's what you've got to say about that.
Well, TD.org is a good place to go. And it's a great thing that you don't have to go to std.org. So, yeah.
That depends what your problem is, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about instructional design for a second. Adam, I think you had a question about kind of just general design, or did you have anything you wanted to jump in on that?
Yeah, Alex, I was jumping on your website a little bit. I know we're going to talk about that here in just a moment, about some of the stuff that you're launching, but talking about instructional design, and I see a lot of designers, and they're like, how do you create those interactions, or what are some of the favorite interactions that you're doing in some of your e-learnings right now? When you're working for a client and you say, you know what, that's one of the ones I use over and over again. That's something I design in multiple different cases. That's something just that I use, and it's in my tool belt that I try to use over and over.
Yeah, drag and drop. No, just kidding.
So, next, you put a button on the bottom.
Then next button and drag and drop. Yep.
Sweet button.
Actually, what I do is I do a drag and drop next button. It's beautiful. Yeah, just have to drag it.
It's a combo interaction.
Yeah, it's a combo.
It's very advanced. Very advanced.
Yeah, and so let me clarify also a couple of things, because I know that it sounded a little somber when I was talking about instructional design. Yeah. But basically, today is a different world, and actually, I think that instructional design will be no more. I think that we need to evolve, and I think we're evolving already.
Yes.
There are different schools coming across, learning experience design, which integrates a little more of the human-centered design stuff, and we need to evolve, and I think we're evolving already.
Yes.
There are different schools coming across, learning experience design, which integrates a little more of the human-centered design stuff, and integrates a little more of the UX and some other things. And so it will be really up to us and how the business is running to really define what it is. But I would say, to the hardcore lovers of instructional design, if you ever practice instructional systems development, right, which is the real thing, that's not really functional in private business, commercial, small, medium businesses, and large. What it is still alive in is, government, military, contracting, and all that. Why? Because when you look at the regulations of the military, what do you find? You find instructional systems design and methodology and stuff like that, and you have to follow it. So that's about it. But anyway, you're asking this question on learning or problem-based solving learning. So it's situations that you want to immerse people in and make decisions, or if they have to operate a machinery, to be able to sort of replicate some of those actions, rather than test people on, where's the button and or how do you, instead of doing that, kind of put people in a situation, give them a background story, and let them have at it and make mistakes and realize and reflect on those mistakes.
Got it.
I find a lot of interactions are built as basically exercises in dexterity. Like, can you take the mouse and click this little box on that part of the screen? And that's entirely, it's not the skill you're trying to build at all, So yeah, that's good. Hey, can you talk for a couple more minutes about instructional systems and what that really means? Kind of break that down for us a bit, or anybody else that might have that same question.
Yeah. So I put out
what that really means. Kind of break that down for us a bit, or anybody else that might have that same question.
Yeah, so I put out a recent article on LinkedIn. You guys can check it out. It's about ADDIE and the origins of ADDIE, which used to be an original, a model within, stages within a model called the Inner Service Procedures for Instructional Systems Development. So that was an actual model that was requested by the Army back in the 70s, right after the Vietnam War, to kind of equip people, make sure that they elevated the quality of the recruits they were getting. And so to do that, they wanted a standardized methodology or a standardized model of it. And the guy that really was involved with this was Bob Branson out of FSU. And so he created that. It was called ADDIC, ADDIC. Control was the last stage. And so systemic, meaning systems development, is you're looking at a systemic approach, almost based out of the systems as training methodology from Silver and from the 60s or earlier 50s. So you're looking at a systemic approach. There's inputs, there's outputs, there are variables, and there's measures, right? So you set up a baseline and you have a measurement at the end of that. And the whole process, considers many variables. So environmental, users, so what you usually know as target audience, what you know as job task analysis, what you know as gap performance analysis, all those happen in place. Really heavy on the A&D of ADDI, if you think of it. But back in those days, the design didn't mean, if you think of it. Back in those days, the design didn't mean graphic design, and the development didn't mean computer development. So that's what we're getting into in the systemic parts of it. And that is a really, really accurate approach in a way, in many respects, because you're following an instructional model, right? An instructional design model. Whatever model you pick, that's really depending on what you want to do. I mean, a lot of people, when they talk instructional design models, they only name probably 3 things, right? So Dick and Carey, and so the people that may not know this, they call ADDI a model. That's not a model, but sure. And then Cameron Gustafson or whatever, Morrison or something like that. So
that was it was an interesting article. I read that the other day, and I'll include that in the show notes for this as well. You can find that article and maybe anything else we want to link to for Alex at mosby.ca/0. All the links that you want to get out there as well in a little minute there, Alex. But it was a really good article, and it was a really well sourced article. I don't see that a lot on LinkedIn. There was I think you had 4 or 5 different sources. I was like, holy shit, okay, no, this is serious. So yeah, you are a man that knows your history, and you are a man that has a plan for your future. So what's going on with you these days? What does your future look like?
Great question. So, primarily it's I did some evaluation of things that I've done in the past. I was working at a very large corporation. I was working in corporate America, and recently I went on my own and became an eLearning consultant. I had the company that I ran that under, StyleLearn, or StyleLearn is the name of the company, and StyleLearn.com is the site. I've been doing that for about 4 years. I've done on and off projects and things like that. But I was last month.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Appreciate it. And a part of that also was, evaluating what I was doing. I realized, okay, there's got to be something. Something happened last year was very interesting. There was a lot of people coming to me asking me about becoming an instructional designer, becoming a eLearning designer, and I helped a lot of people doing that. And I was thinking, okay, how can we scale this out? Because I can't, I only have so many hours in the week. Besides all the stuff that people see me do, and besides that, I'm the president of the ATD Central Florida chapter, and that's a lot of work.
These things take time, that's for sure. For sure, man.
Yeah, so all those, how could I scale this out so I can help more people, so we can help the most people as possible? So in the past, there's a guy that is also a veteran, and I used to be an ATD facilitator for a minute, and I used to be an ATD facilitator for a minute, and he was a buddy of mine. I met him at Tech Knowledge when I presented at Tech Knowledge. Aaron King is his name. And Aaron and I always were joking around that, hey, we should do a project together. We should do a business, that type of thing. And so with this opportunity of, hey, how can we help people and scale out? I talked to him and we came up with a concept. And so the concept is called eLearning Launch. And it's basically to help people transition into instructional design with all the things that really matter today with employers, because the problem that we have to recognize is that we have a huge gap between academia and employers.
Yep.
So the normal course that people take is say, oh, I'm going to take a graduate certificate, I'm going to take a master's degree, right? But none of that teaches you anything. Make yourself feel good about it.
About that when you're talking to a CEO or a business partner, and you start talking about Bloom's taxonomy, and they're like, "Yeah, man,
you want to save that. You want to save that sort of fodder for the bar. That's pickup talk right there."
I'm just saying, man. So I went. I've been doing this for a little over 12 years.
Yep.
I had about maybe 6 different jobs, and out of those 6 jobs, they were all Fortune 100 companies. So none of the interviews that I ever had ever went into, hey, so how do you feel about the Azure model versus this? Or how do you feel about Bloom's? Or there was no question of that. There was no discussion of that. The main focus today, guys, is, look, can you make things easier to understand? Do you understand the foundational theories and basically infuse your design with that? But your design and the foundational theories and basically infuse your design with that. But your design has to be there. Your content development has to be there. Your digital content abilities have to be there.
Yeah.
So without that, it doesn't matter what you're doing. And the problem is there's people spending $40,000 on a master's degree to get out and not find a job.
So eLearning Launch is going to kind of bridge that gap then, right? So you're charging what, $25,000 for it, or?
That's exactly what it is. No, $25,000. I wish that'd be great. No, actually, the base package of it is going to be 2 experiences. So the base package will be like $29 a month, and there's an annual package obviously that you can lower it up, and then there's a more prestigious package, let's say a premium package, that will be including a community support and like one-on-one reviews type of things. So if including a community support and like one-on-one reviews type of things. So if you and the second piece of this is that this is unique, guys. This is different because it's not topic based. So it's not like we're going to, I understand today that anybody can go and find everything where, you can learn about being an instructional designer just by going to LinkedIn Learning or going to YouTube or, going different places, right? You can find it. But the question here is, do you want to be able to step into a project situation, learn the skills to solve that project, and then come out with a work sample of that project?
Nice.
Right? So we're going to do that over 15 different projects.
So you're looking a little bit less on the tactical here's how to use Articulate, right? You're looking more at how to run a project and actually talk to a business person.
There will be opportunities for you to learn more basic stuff. But I mean, when you talk about Articulate Storyline, if you know about this, and you know that I do a lot of designs in Storyline. Storyline is like the software that it is today because it's the most robust support software there is. It has educational materials of the yin yang. It has training webinars, tutorials, and the community, right? So, I mean, you don't need, I don't know, if people make Articulate courses, I don't even know why you're making Storyline courses because there's all that stuff that people can learn, but obviously somebody needs to have a course as well. So, the whole purpose here is to be able to say, I'll give you an example. One of the main projects that we had, the initial projects, foundational projects, is an onboarding situation, right? So, you always had this if you go to any job. Hey, we would like to do something new for an onboarding program or an onboarding course or onboarding informational awareness. Okay, great. So you're presenting with that situation. You're presenting them with the specific program or an onboarding course or onboarding informational awareness. Okay, great. So you're presenting with that situation. You're presenting them with the specific steps you want to take to support that project and take it to completion. So that's in essence what it is. It's an experience in which you are going to be able to create your own digital portfolio, create your work samples, and you're going to be learning with folks that have been doing it for a while, and that we know what it takes to even create your own business.
That's awesome. And, that's something that's really cool. The fact that it sounds like there's, and I don't want to say mentor because you didn't say mentor, but I mean, there's that kind of that coaching, that guidance piece of it, that even if you have the paint by numbers, even if you're following the Lego instructions piece by piece by piece, you don't really know how necessarily all the pieces come together, like all the different models, how do they come together and how do they come together and what does that turn into at the end? That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I think it's going to work, man. I think we already have about 30 people interested out of the one little, I did a blog post that I put like 2 days ago or yesterday. And so, yeah, it's interesting to see. I know there's a lot of people that need this, and that's the important part of it. And it's going to continue to build on month to month. So hopefully, my goal is to be able to help as much people as we can. And if we can get, a community of like 2,000 people or more, that'll be great, because those are people that eventually are going to get jobs and they're going to be able to help other people.
Yeah, I remember me and Adam were at the Dallas the Swizzle at ATD conference, and there was a couple gals from Ernst & Young there, and they were showing kind of how the various populations within departments.
That'd be great. I really hope that it works out, specifically for people. It's going to be awesome, man. And we'll see more people being capable and confident out there, especially, we're doing, the main thing is our focus, our target population are students, veterans, and teachers. So we have specific discounts for those folks. Through a validation system and all that. So anybody that has a edu or .mil address can take advantage of the discount. Yeah.
Actually, the teacher one's really interesting. I was just reading an article about instructional designers, where they come from, and a great place. A lot of teachers right now, with all the issues that are going on in school districts and cuts in funding and whatnot, are coming over to instructional design because they like the training, they understand a lot of it, and it's changing who their audience is. But they were saying that that's one of the biggest draws for instructional design because they like the training, they understand a lot of it, and it's changing who their audience is. But they were saying that that's one of the biggest draws for instructional designers is former teachers, and they're jumping ship from teaching students.
I know. Well, yeah, it's true. And, like I said, about 100 people or so that I talked to last year, most of them were teachers.
Wow.
Third grade teachers in different grades, because it doesn't make, if you look at it, it doesn't really make sense. It's not something to be proud of as a society where, a teacher has to go jump through these loops to get certified, background checks, all this stuff, and then go make 35. The average salary is like 40,000 in the nation, right?
So I got a 4-year-old and 7-year-old. I can't think of being in a classroom with 20 of them. I'm going to the private sector. I gotta go.
I know. And then so you think about it, then you have a customer service rep that becomes a supervisor, is pretty good. It shows a little bit of creativity on a PowerPoint. He becomes the instructional designer in the company, right? And now he's making 60,000. So it's like, wow, okay. Yeah. But it's an open room for everybody. That's basically it.
Good on you. And so what's that website again that you want people to go to?
Oh, eLearning Launch, eLearningLaunch.com. That's where it's at. That's
and what's
the
date? I was there earlier today. It's not launched yet, though. What's the date? What's the hard date?
Yeah, we have right now a lead collecting page there. So just to put their emails and they'll get information. The date for launch will be February 24th.
February 24th. Put it in the calendar.
Which is good. Yeah, that's going to be just a few days after this goes live, because what's today? The 12th. So I think this is going to launch on the 18th, 19th. So within about 4 or 5 days. I mean, go there now. When you're hearing this, ladies and gentlemen, go there now. Throw your email address, and that's go there now. When you're hearing this, ladies and gentlemen, go there now. Throw your email address, and that's oh damn it, eLearningLaunch.com. I had one job. eLearningLaunch.com.
Go
there, enter your email address, and then get get in touch with Alex, because it sounds like, and I know I am related to teachers, and I see them every Christmas, and we're 3 drinks in. I'm like, why are you still a teacher? Why don't you just do the thing that I'm doing, and you'll be happier, and you won't have to deal with so much ridiculousness all the time.
Yeah.
But people are funny. They'll figure it out eventually, man. They're going to come your way.
Yeah. There's a great, there's a lot of unpolished power in there with teachers, because they already have a lot of the background with the education degree. So
that's right.
The rest of it is just translating all that love they have for learners to be able to demonstrate it in a digital realm. And that will get them to be a great instructional designer in any company.
All right, man. Where do you want people, aside from elearninglaunch.com, where do you want people to find you online?
Well, guys, you know that I'm on LinkedIn, and that is Stoller, and I'm pretty much Stoller everywhere in social media. I do have a YouTube channel as well, where I cover technology. I cover the learning technology. So if you want to see videos about Storyline, or videos about, I did one recently with this app called Mosby Lane that is pretty awesome. It does a lot of like scenario-based interactions, and you don't really,
what was
it's
it
all
called
cloud-based.
Say that
Mosby,
again.
Mosby Lane. So Muzzy.
Huh. Yeah, it's like
Lane.
A first name and last name. Yeah, Mosby Lane.
Yeah, Mosby Lane. Yeah,
name.
and well, it's, my Venezuelan accent doesn't help.
Huh. Yeah, it's like Lane. A first name and last name. Yeah, Mosby Lane.
Yeah, Mosby Lane. Yeah, name. And well, it's, my Venezuelan accent doesn't help, but it's not Minnesotan, by the way. It's Venezuelan. Yeah.
There you go.
Interesting thing, when I used to tell people before, I was like, where are you from? I'm from Venezuela. People are like, oh, really? Minnesota? Wow.
No, not Minnesota.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Do I sound?
Yeah.
So and off the cuff, you can the YouTube channel for off the cuff is ATDCFL, right?
Oh yeah, man. I completely forgot about all that. When you start doing so much stuff, right? You forget. Yep. But yeah, off the cuff is definitely something you guys want to check out. The channel is ATDCFL, which stands for the ATD chapter, Central Florida chapter. Think about it. This started as a thing where we just wanted to interview people that were going to speak for the chapter. Okay. And fast forward a year later, I had a face-to-face interview with Dr. David Merrill. I had webinars with Richard Mayer from Multimedia Learning Theory. I had a webinar with Lauren Anderson, who was the reviser. He wrote the revision of what Bloom's taxonomy was, right? Because that's another thing people get wrong. Bloom's taxonomy, 1956, is not something anybody should be following for writing learning objectives. But if you watch the channel, you'll learn. So
that's it.
So yeah, so we got and recently I just had an interview with Don Norman, so the father of UX. So. Wow.
Yeah, I've got his book. What is it? The Design of Everyday Things.
Yeah, Design of Everyday Things, man. An amazing
I'm holding
book.
it right now. It's a terrific book. It's
Absolutely.
crazy. Yeah. And it's funny
he's fascinating. He's a fascinating individual. He's just, the part about him to consider is, look, this guy was an academic. He was an engineer to begin with. He was an academic. He was a PhD in cognitive psychology. And then he just went to work for Apple and became VP of Advanced Technology at Apple and created the concept of user experience.
That's wild.
Before that, nobody was doing this, guys. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Well, and going back to the off the cuff, the whole channel there, and it is crazy because, like you said, it started off as one relatively small thing, like a relatively small localized thing. And I watched episode 1 last night, and it's a 5-minute chat with the person that was going to be speaking at the chapter, and then, like you say, it just went on to really collect conversations with some incredible people in our industry. So Not only that, and I actually just subscribed a minute ago to Style Learn on that YouTube channel too. I didn't know that was there. I feel bad about that.
No, that's all right. It's okay.
But you've now got another subscriber.
Only 400 and some subscribers,
That's right. That's right.
Not gonna make a living out of that.
All right. Is there anywhere you're speaking at soon? Any conferences that are in your future?
Yes, conferences. I try to. I was
you know
trying
what?
to be.
So if you want, you could send me the links and I'll put them in the.
I'll send you the links. But Serious Games Conference is going to happen here at UCF in Orlando. I'm doing that one, so that's an easy one. And then cool. I put in for Tech Learn, but I don't know if I'm there yet. So that will be next. It's Austin. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's in Austin.
Yeah, yep. Austin next October or something like that. So.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Fun games. Thank you, guys, for having me here. Absolutely. And I definitely appreciate the combos for sure.
Oh, this has been a great chat. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I do hope that, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do hope we can have more of these in the future. Maybe check in on your progress as an entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I know it's not easy work. And it takes a lot of love and dedication and probably a little blood, sweat, and tears. But I bet you're used to that. So thank you, Alex. We appreciate it. And all the links that we talked about here, we're going to make sure they're in the show notes for you guys as well. So, Alex, thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dan. You guys are awesome. Guys, it's been great talking to you.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. Alex Salas, hell of a guy. I like that guy.
Yeah, it was a good interview.
Yeah, I think one of the things that it's interesting because out there, and he's not afraid of, so I guess Twitter's a little bit different. LinkedIn, though, he's not afraid of just being casual. And same thing with Off the Cuff. He's not afraid of being casual and just being a normal human being, which
that's refreshing.
Which God knows L&D could use more normal human beings.
Could more people taking themselves less seriously?
Well, did I mention Twitter yet?
I mean, that's the tagline, right? That's the tagline of this podcast. L&D less seriously.
L&D less serious. Well, it's not officially that yet. It could be.
That's a good one.
So that voice, ladies and gentlemen,
that's a good one.
It is. We'll put it in rotation maybe, because you should always have a fresh motto. Fresh hosts. That's what we like to have here at almost 10:30 at night Eastern. But we've got Eli Berant has joined us as well. Eli, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I got. I'm almost through the gift from my kids. That was the Great Midwest a sickness or ick, and kids. That was the Great Midwest a sickness or ick, and of the 2019-2020 winter season. And I'm about through it.
Wow, and you were sick last. I mean, this has been going on for a while, right? You were sick last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it after my kids, so my kids had it the week before. I had it for roughly last week, and I'm shaking it off this week.
Yeah, and I was sick before that. Maybe it's a Mosby thing. Maybe it's catching.
Hey, the interwebs, man. Maybe it's the STD.org.
That's right. You want to wear gloves when you visit websites like that.
Another week, another friend that Mosby Learning makes.
That's right. Yeah, one less sponsor again. I don't think they were. I'm not even going to go to std.org. I don't want to be a part of that. Okay. So that was. So we just wrapped up a very fun conversation with Alex Salas, and as I mentioned, we're going to have all of the appropriate links, excluding std.org. We're going to have all the appropriate links at mosby.ca/023, as this is our 23rd episode. And if you, ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to send us an email, I didn't cover this off at the top because Alex was here and I was nervous about it. But if you want to send us an email, mosbylearning@gmail. Is it Gmail or is it Yahoo? What is it?
It's Gmail. Adam's watching like a hawk.
Like a hawk.
Every week, man. Every week. Every day, every hour.
It's supposed to be more than that.
Yeah.
Now, I may be privy to information that might disprove that, but that's all right.
No. I received I did receive an email.
Now, I may be privy to information that might disprove that, but that's all right.
No. I received I did receive an email from a random email address that was on Gorilla Mail.
Well,
.com.
hey, why are you judging email addresses, man?
Just saying, it was talking about all my Adams driving talk about 2 episodes ago, and how easily he thinks truck drivers will be replaced inside of 10 years. And what I really like about this person who decided to send the email, it's amazing to me that a guy who can't deal with black ice, hills, or even a parking brake thinks some software engineers in Palo Alto are going to nail this all down for a giant 18-wheeler. And I do.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yes. And this person just goes on and on. Even the best self-driving cars today will ask to drive through. There are times when the lines and markers of the road are gone frequently in the winter months. Vehicles with cameras cannot be covered with slush and ice. Some places in North America are so cold, I guess that's Toronto, that they can't even effectively salt the roads. And because of this thick layer of compact snow on the road all season, and the only road indicators are really the tracks of other cars. Today's companies still get deliveries in these scenarios, and if truck drivers are extinct, they simply won't. So,
unbelievable. Well, there you have it. Actually, so it's not too far from where I am. Up at my parents' place, I was there on the weekend, and they're only about an hour and a half, just shy of 2 hours north of here. It's right by the North Pole. We had to get our reindeer to drive us the last bit. No, and then it's still, they can't rely on salt up there because it gets too cold, so they have to put sand on the road.
Well, in this listener who decided to send this email ends with, in short, there's absolutely
it's still, they can't rely on salt up there because it gets too cold, so they have to put sand on the road.
Well, in this listener who decided to send this email ends with, in short, there's absolutely no way Adam is right on this. Point Eli.
Wow.
So I don't know where this came from, and it's probably actually.
Wow, it sounds like it came from Eli, to be honest, but
probably does.
I wish I had that much foresight on this.
Yes. Yeah. So watch this. I do watch the inbox like a hawk, and I'm actually thinking it's from one of our Turkey listeners. Eli, I don't know if you know this, and Dan shared it with you. I pulled up some of our listeners from Stitcher Radio, and interestingly enough, we have quite a few listeners over in Turkey.
Big in Turkey, man. Big in Turkey.
Are they bots, you think?
I'm not really sure, but it's where people are listening.
Turkish bots?
They hit the subscribe button.
That's smash that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there we go.
I've told my children.
All right, so
I've told my children that if I catch them, like, if they want to watch something on the TV on YouTube, they can't. They can only watch stuff that doesn't say hit the like button, hit subscribe. I'm like, you got to watch real content, not just
people
nonsense.
that are building the brand.
Yeah.
I yell at my kids not to hit the like button on anything because they mess up your algorithm, right?
Oh, my algorithm on mine is all over the place.
Yeah. It's like, hey, great, I just watched this kid's show, and whoa, that's not safe for work.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so speaking of things that are not safe for work, let's talk about a couple eLearning articles that we're going to, again, these will be in the show notes, mosby.ca/0.
Can you use the
voice?
voice?
What did I say? Mosby.ca. You want a voice? Is that what you said?
No, you got to use the top 5 trends to what to expect.
I should. I should. Well, Gibbs isn't here to coach me on my my voice use, so I'll have to take a shot at it. Yeah, but mosby.ca/023. And this is eLearning Trends in 2020. Top 5 trends to expect. And I'll tell you what, this is already suspect. So there's 81 people have shared this article, and I don't know. Okay, so this is from eLearningIndustry.com, and we'll cover this. We'll talk about this for a minute. But my issue with eLearningIndustry.com is I've seen more than one article that, unlike the Alex Salas LinkedIn article that was very well sourced, and he's got references in there. The man's got his Chicago style guide sitting on his desk, and he knows how to reference something, right? A lot of these articles on eLearning industry, they're fine, since we're talking about speculation, here's one with top 5 trends for 2020. So I don't know how this guy knew that. So he might have some. This is Naveen Neelakandan.
Yeah, not gonna work here anymore.
Not gonna work here anymore.
Not gonna work here anymore. But Dan, I'm gonna go back. eLearning industry is a fantastic place. I have an article that I was also posted on eLearning industry. So
it does ask me 13 times if you want to write an article for them.
Yeah,
like
point in case.
Do you want it? Do you want to do this? We don't want to do it. Do you want to do it?
You want to do it?
It's like trying to decide where you were going to eat. Where are you going to? I don't know. Where do you want to go? You just pick a place. No, just give me 3 options.
You want to read an article?
Anyhow, okay, man.
The article, then we'll read the article.
Walk us through your buddy Naveen. Walk us through his article here, because you guys are co-authors on.
No, not this article. I've just written
options.
You want to read an article?
Anyhow, okay, man.
The article, then we'll read the article.
Walk us through your buddy Naveen. Walk us through his article here, because you guys are co-authors on.
No, not this article. I've just written other articles for eLearning industry. Interestingly enough, they published them, and it was pretty good. So,
what was the analytics report that you got from that?
Huge.
Huge?
Yeah.
Well, I thought
it's the turkey followers. They are just everywhere. They see Costakes, Costakes. They are jumping in on it.
All right, walk us through this. What are these trends?
Top 20 trends, top 5 trends in 2020. First, learning experience, and what he's talking about is learning experience platforms, and that engagement is trying to get the learning experience for your learners. So he says that's a big trend, and I've seen that, right? So a lot of people, LinkedIn Learning is launching an LMS, or it was launched in LMS. A lot of people are talking about.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And I don't want you to feel like I'm poking fun at you.
Oh boy.
I'll do that after. But did you see this as a thing before 2020?
I did before 2020, but I see it accelerating. And the reason I see it accelerating is because of the difference in mediums, in the amount of content that's being generated. I think that
accelerating like a driverless car on ice.
No, but seriously, there's more content in different types of content that is going out there. Interestingly enough, Dan, I know something that you're launching at your company. You're launching a podcast, and I actually have a meeting on Friday.
A little peek behind the curtain, ladies and gentlemen. That was not shared publicly until just now.
I thought you shared it before. I have a meeting.
That's cool.
I have a meeting on a Monday to talk about a podcast at our company.
Are you copying my idea, bro?
You're totally taking everything. Can you send me that
looking off my
design
sheet
document?
Yeah. I think it's in a shared folder already.
Okay.
Well, that's good. I hope it goes well. It's a terrific platform.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever. All right. What's give us number 2?
Number 2. Big data analytics will get bigger. It's gonna be huge.
The huge data analytics.
Huge data. No, and I can see this, right? People want to know where and we've talked about this before, is tracking where the employees are going, so we understand insights into how they're consuming the content. What are they clicking on? What's most engageful? And then, the famous, how do you measure ROI? So the more data that we can gather, the better we're going to do our jobs. It's a trend. It
is a trend. No, I agree. So I think, I don't know. So I definitely want ROI to be a bigger part of my professional, and that's not with quotes around it, my professional L&D life, the people that actually pay me, because I want to make it worth something. I want to make an impact. I want to move the needle. And I wonder, is there such thing as small data analytics or medium data analytics, or something? Because the idea of big data analytics is like either you're playing with the big dogs or you're useless, and I feel like there's got to be some in-between stuff and some stepping stone analytics, if you will. I don't know. I just feel like there's something that's in between where I am and this, and I think there's a lot of big players out there that have this sort of stuff, like I'm sure Home Depot, I'm sure other things like Home Depot, they have stuff like this, but I don't know. I think the smaller, there's got to be something in between. I don't know.
With a lot of this stuff, we're swimming in data. It's just a matter of how to use it and which ones really matter. Yeah. That's like the big data. It's just everywhere, and you can track everything. But there's the term KPI for a reason, right? The key performance indicators, and it's being able to identify what those are. If someone can do it, and I know Dan, you've spoke to this. You and I have had a conversation off podcast about this, about business units coming to you and saying, "Hey, yeah, we want to fix this." Well, what do you have to measure that? Well, we don't really.
Yeah, can you just fix it? It's like
right, like we can try, we can address it, but how are we going to track whether it works or not? And sometimes the data is there, sometimes it isn't, and we've brought this up in the past too. When you have industries like most of us, like the we are in, where what we do, what our company does is important, but there's a lot of exterior factors and pulleys and levers that impact the business that you can't really tell if is it what you're doing or is it the environment. So
yeah. All right, Mr. Costakes, let's keep this train rolling.
Naveen is 2 for 2. Artificial intelligence coming up number 3 hot trend in 2020.
It's a brand new concept, artificial intelligence. All right, so
you're so anti-AI.
I think I'm just tired. So hang on, chatbots. Did chatbots count as artificial intelligence?
Absolutely.
Because I've heard. Okay, so I guess I'm wondering what the value. I know there's value in chatbots because everybody talks about it, and they certainly all can't be wrong, right? But so the idea with the chatbot is the idea that maybe a learner could ask it a question and they're guided towards material that they're looking for. Is that all? It's like what's the magic? Towards material that they're looking for. Is that all? It's like what's the magic here? Is it just a fancy Google box?
Like what I was asking, what I akined this to was like, I don't know if it was 21, where you guys were talking about machine learning, right? Mm-hmm. This is a form of artificial intelligence, right? Because it's learning and feeding you questions based on the answers that you are providing it, correct? Mm-hmm. So wouldn't machine learning be artificial intelligence? Driven learning?
I imagine they're kind of bed buddies. Yeah.
I think
is that a term people use? Bed buddies?
I don't think that's appropriate.
That's where we're drawing the line today.
Yeah, that goes another one. No, I don't know enough about chatbots, but I do know I've seen a couple blurbs kind of run through on the Twitter feed talking about how taking courses and putting them into chatbot would be something we can take a look at. But artificial intelligence, Naveen is 3 for 3. Number 4.
I don't know if it's 3 up or 3 down or what it is.
It's 3 for 3, right? So we got 2 more. Really quick, 2 more. More user-generated content. I think that I know in our place of business, we are using more user-generated content. I think with cell phones being easier to use, where people can take video, you can use the business to create the content quicker, sometimes faster, and if you do it right, it can expand and scale your learning. So I think, I think that's now, I don't know if it's 2020, but I think more people in the business have the tools that in the past, years ago, that only instructional designers had.
I think this one more than the others excites me, actually, because the world I'm kind of living in right now, I'm wondering, I've got a department of 20 people, all 20 of them might have one really good answer that could answer questions that the other 19 have, and they all have a different answer, like they're all answering a different question. And so the challenge, I think, becomes how do we organize that information? How do we make it accessible and searchable and maybe even ranked? Like if 3 people answer the same question, well, do I have to watch all 3? Or I think the quality of it, I think YouTube has shown us that the quality doesn't really matter on a lot of stuff because, obviously some stuff it's got to be pretty and shiny and look really good, but other things I've watched, God, more than my share of videos that have like an Excel walkthrough for a specific function where it's got just god-awful frickin' music underneath it and they just scroll the words on the screen. It's like, why are you not saying the words into a microphone? Why are you scrolling these words on the screen, you Why are you scrolling these words on the screen, you jackass?
You should send them in Compitex information.
What's that?
You should send them in Compitex information for good music.
Compitex?
Yeah.
Oh, there. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Kevin MacLeod, he could fix their problem, at least the music part. I don't know about the voiceover piece, but all right. Yeah. So that one does get me excited. The last one there.
4 for 4. And your favorite VR, MR. What's MR? I don't know what MR is. MR.
I had to read it. Mixed reality.
Mixed reality. No, I
Mixed
did.
reality.
I just was reading the top part. And AR for immersive
You
training.
know this guy. You know Naveen, right?
The what? Yeah.
Naveen?
Yeah, he's 5 for 5.
Yeah.
He's a big time on the e-learning industry.
Unbelievable. All right, so I don't know. I feel like this answer right here disqualifies him from everything because it's not a big trend. I think there's going to be 7% of people where it's actually this answer right here disqualifies him from everything because it's not a big trend. I think there's going to be 7% of people where it's incredibly appropriate, maybe even 15 where it's appropriate and it works. That does not make a trend.
I
Those
think
are my
it's
thoughts.
coming. I think we're still early, but I think it's coming. And, we talked just a moment before at the end off to the side with Alex on the interview about the Learning Solutions Conference. But right with the Learning Solutions Conference, in tandem with it is the Learning Realities 360 Conference. They're at the same place in Orlando at the end of in the beginning of April. And that entire conference, there's 50 different sessions all on AR, virtual reality, those types of learning. So I think it's probably a little premature for some companies, but I'm starting to get in the boat that it's going to be coming down the pipeline.
So speaking of premature, there's also a show in, I think, Toronto. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a 360 conference that focuses all around these topics. There's a conference for everything. It doesn't mean that makes it a trend. That means that there's enough people in North America that are interested that'll pay for a plane ticket and a hotel room to go to this event. So I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it's not going to work and there's not going to be value in it. I think that trend is an overstatement. Now, that being said, there is somebody that's going to that 360 conference, Betty Denowitz, who we're going to be talking to hopefully on a future Mosby episode, and I'm going to be talking to her on one of her podcast episodes, and she's going to be presenting there. And so I really want to get her position on this. I really want to understand better the application of this because we've speculated and we've kind of seen some examples, but I think the problem is that people that pitch those examples might be overstating the value in it. I don't understand better the application of this because we've speculated and we've kind of seen some examples, but I think the problem is that people that pitch those examples might be overstating the value in it. I don't know. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't do that.
That's why I like you.
I think you're wrong.
All right.
Maybe they'll use the virtual reality training to train the people who are going to be in the automated driving trucks.
There you go. Well, we talked about that actually a couple weeks ago. That might work.
Because they're not going to not be in the
All
trucks.
Right. They won't be doing it up north anyhow. That's for sure. The do we want to call it there, gentlemen? There's two more articles.
Is that the theme of the conference you're just talking about in Toronto?
What about it? I'm just saying. I know there's a conference there. It's this Toronto supply company, not to be named. There was a gal that she had her tickets printed off. Like I printed off her tickets, and I was like, "Oh, this is a little awkward." Is it? I don't know. Maybe it's not awkward. I had to print off her tickets and hand them to her. And I'm like, "Oh, well,
she
enjoy
brought
the show."
To the store to get the tickets printed off.
She emailed them to the store's like copy and print center.
Because she wanted people to know.
You think so?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Well, hey, tell you what, I knew. I don't know how to feel about that. All right. I don't know how to feel about a lot of things, but I really enjoyed our conversation with Alex. You can find all his cool links. Well, what was it? eLearningLaunch.com was kind of the big one that he wants folks to go to, and it sounds like a really cool program that him and his buddy Aaron have got worked out to really kind of connect those dots. I think that's a really interesting approach because, like you mentioned, like Articulate, Camtasia, all like TechSmith, I guess, all these individual players' own community within, within the technology. Like they have a TechSmith Academy, and you can talk with people in there about the project that you might be working on. But it's connecting those pieces, and that's interesting. I really hope that flies. And well, I know it will. He's a guy that's he's not going anywhere. So. The other things that we mentioned here, you're going to find those at mosby.ca/023. You want to send us an email, you can do that at mosbylearning@gmail.com, right?
Yeah, and I'm looking for another gorilla mail. Cannot wait.
Any other criticisms of Adam's opinions or mine or Eli's, you can send those in to us, and we'll potentially read them on air. Yeah. Like a hawk.
I have an army fan base, it sounds like. Yeah. People sticking up for me.
It's a subset. It's like a subreddit of the Mosby. It's like a...
People sticking up for me.
It's a subset. It's like a subreddit of the Mosby. It's like a sub-Mosby.
Subreddit.
Yeah. All right. Social media. Adam, where do you want people to find you?
Just on LinkedIn. It's Adam Costakes.
There you go, Costakes. Mr. Berant, where are folks going to find you?
I am available via LinkedIn, or if you want to see me in my alter ego, I guess not, this looks my main ego, Great Lakes Fly on Instagram.
And what an ego, yeah. No, you always post some cool stuff, and you got people that are doing interesting things with the things that you create, right?
Yeah.
You got people that are going all over the world with the flies that you tie, so good on you.
Very cool.
Your own little piece of celebrity. You can find me, and of course I haven't, the links will be in the show note. I don't know, Dan Talks training on Twitter, I think, and I'm Dan Talks LND on the other one, Instagram, and you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting ridiculous stuff there too. I think I'm lowering the bar on Instagram or on LinkedIn. I feel a little bit bad about that. I don't know.
How many different hats can you wear in a week on Instagram?
How many different hats? I do have a few different. All right. Well, you just gave me a challenge. Ladies and gentlemen,
we can do Dan Headwear Bingo.
Dan Headwear. I like it. I'm in. There will be about 3 different toques. I have like a driver's cap. I have a fedora. I have, all sorts of stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the time that you spent here with us today, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Adios.